Hello, I'm Tally, and today we're going to be going through some diverse dark academia books. So I don't know about you, but autumn always has me feeling like I need to be reaching for as many dark academia books as I can manage. And as we know, it is often primarily, and as we know, the genre, subgenre, aesthetic is primarily taken over by white Eurocentric books and films, etc. So here is a list of 15 diverse options that you can put on your TBR. Now, in no particular order, we're going to start with two books I've recently read and basically just the author as a whole, and that is R.F. Kuang. So there is Babel and Catabasis. These two books are both fantastic explorations of academia in different ways, and I absolutely loved them both. The things they have in common are they both very much look at the idea of linguistics as a source of magic in an academic setting, but apart from that, they very much go in different paths. So in Babel, we follow a young Chinese boy who is taken from his family home when he is around 9, I believe, and he is taken by a professor in Oxford, England, and this is set in 1800s, 1836, and he is taken to Babel, which is the linguistics school at Oxford in this alternative universe. At this school, they use translation to create magic, and this is a big discussion on colonialism, and how the past actions were very much geared towards kind of stamping out what makes other people and other countries and other languages so wonderful in order to make it appeal to the English Empire. So this one is very well, we follow him throughout his schooling, and this one is very heavy on the footnotes. So if you are someone that particularly hates footnotes, you might not enjoy this as much. But I thought this was a fantastic book. And then on the other hand, in Catabasis, we follow Alice and Peter, who are both PhD students, and they are at the very beginning of this, they are drawing out their pentagram, which will allow them to go into hell. And the reason they have to go into hell is because their advisor has recently carried out some magic and did it wrong, and his head exploded, and they need some reference letters from him. So they need to go to hell to find him to get some reference letters. And throughout Catabasis, we explore what hell could be, or rather what hell is for academics. We discuss other depictions of hell, such as Dante's and depiction, etc. And there is a lot of discussions of maths and psychology, and most of it went over my head, but the main crux of the story was still very enjoyable. I would say if you haven't picked up either of these, possibly Catabasis might even be a more accessible way into R.F. Kuang's writing. I just feel like it was much more go compared to Babel, but for me these were both high 5 stars. Next is The Centre by Alicia Zanadir Siddiqui. This is again a book about language and linguistics, and I don't know if you've picked this up, but I really enjoy books that focus around language and the use of language and where languages come from. This one isn't set in a academic setting. We follow a young woman, Anisha, who is a translator, and she wants to be a translator of like the greatest works of literature, and she often finds herself translating, well, subtitling Bollywood movies. And then she finds out about this elite program that is invite only, in which you can learn another language very quickly to fluency level. You immerse yourself in the language, you are there, you cut out contact with everyone in the outside world, and you're there for however long, and you come away completely fluent in the language you've gone in to learn about. So she decides to go in and learn German, and within 10 days she is absolutely fluent. And she doesn't want to stop there, because once she's got a taste of it, she wants more. This is a dark, surreal, and I guess slightly comedic take. This is a dark, surreal, and slightly comedic book, and it definitely, it's a thriller with some quite horrific elements as well. Next is one that's on my TBR. I haven't read it yet, and that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Leigh Bardugo is a Jewish author, and she attended Yale, and this is very much inspired by her time at Yale. We follow Alex, who is a freshman at Yale. She has some horrific things in her past that she is trying to move on from, and she gets an invite into one of the secret societies on campus, and it is the one that actually basically audits and keeps an eye on all of the other secret societies. Now, the secret societies throughout this are based on a real thing. At Yale, they do have, or at least did have, these like societies that were invite only, but in this, Alex is in one that I believe there's magic involved and some sort of being able to speak with those that have already passed, or ghosts. There is a second book out, Hellbent, and the third one is due to come out at some point. But yeah, this seems to be giving all of the kind of academic vibes that I want from a dark academia book. Next is a book that I believe does not get enough attention, and that is Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. This one is, I think it might be a YA, at the very least it's a new adult, and we follow a young girl who has somehow, against all odds, received a place at the very elusive Catherine House. This is a boarding school in which the students go in and have no contact with the outside world for the whole 3 years that they are there. They literally live and breathe Catherine House. They are not allowed internet, they're barely allowed music, anything like TV and films are off limits. And we follow a group of students as they go through their studies, and how they get very much drawn into the essence of Catherine House. And Catherine House itself is quite sentient, and I really enjoy a story that has a almost sentient house. There's some secret programs that are going on, and only certain students are picked for it, and the rest are not to know what happens in there. And it's all very need to know, it's all very hush hush, and the whole book is very slowly paced. You build upon what's happening, and it just has this quiet essence to it, and you have this underlining current of something's just not quite right, like an unease, but you don't know what to do about it. That's Catherine House, and this is honestly such a fantastic book. I read it when it first came out. I'm very much due a reread. This was like one of the first books I tabbed and annotated because I just loved it so much, and I'm desperate for Elizabeth Thomas to bring out another book. Next, we have a couple more books I haven't read. They're on my TBR. So we have, I'll move over, They're Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. This is a YA thriller, and it follows a black teen who is desperate to regain her Ivy League acceptance. And in order to regain her scholarship, she enters an elite competition. And upon entering it, she finds out that the stakes are not just high, but they're actually quite deadly. And as she goes along, she finds out that the deck is very much stacked against her, but she is desperate to get into this prestigious academy, Edgewater it's called. And I just think that this is going to be fabulous. And the next YA that I haven't actually read myself, House of Marioni, possibly mispronounced that, by JL. So this is actually the first in a series. I'm not sure if the second, so there's 2 more books out, or at least are coming out. And this is a modern day YA fantasy leaning book with a romantic element, and it is set in a magical world with social elites. There's there's dark magic as well throughout. So we follow 17-year-old Quell, who has lived her life on the run, with her mum, like escaping from city to city. And then someone discovers her dark secret, and to hide from the assassin that's hunting her and to keep her mum out of the way, she reluctantly agrees to join a magical social elite group called the Order. And she finds herself drawn into a situation that she never could have anticipated. And I feel like this is a really good time for me to discuss what makes a dark academia book, in my opinion. And for me, I feel that it needs to be academic based. It doesn't have to be in an academic setting, but the main character or the main like plot of it definitely has to revolve around some sort of learning or knowledge. And then for me, we need to explore what a person is willing to do for that knowledge, or for the accolades that they think they're deserving of. Often there's a murder, but that doesn't necessarily have to be in a book for me to consider it dark academia. Obviously, this is a very new kind of genre, and very newly penned genre, particularly in the literature space. And so people do have their own opinions on it, but that is just what I look for in a book to make it a dark academia book. We then have The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This is the first in the Atlas trilogy. I've actually only read the first book. I've read it multiple times. I adore it. I've not yet gone on to the rest of the series. But in this, we follow 6 magic wielders who are accepted into an elusive society, the Alexandrian Society, and they are there to basically kind of audition, or there's 6 of them, and they're fighting for 5 positions, and 5 of them will be chosen to become guardians of the Alexandrian Library. And other secretive societies are aware that this Alexandrian Society exists and want to take them down. And whilst that's happening, we follow our 6 students as they are embracing their magic knowledge. They are pushing the limits and boundaries of what they can and can't do, working out if they work together, can they do more, and just really seeing where the boundaries lie in their magic. It's all quite physics-based magic as well. So I think that this is perfect for those that are looking for something a bit more scientific with their dark academia. Probably not realistic science. I'm not a scientist. But if they want that kind of element, I think this would work really well with like R.F. Kuang's books, for instance. Next on my list is Legendborn. I cannot find my copy of it anywhere, but I do have a copy of the first book somewhere. I really want to read it. This trilogy is complete now, and this is by Tracy Dion, and this is a retelling of the Arthurian legend, with a black girl as the main character, and that just sounds fantastic to me. So we follow Bree, who gets accepted into a residential program for high schoolers with promise, and whilst there she witnesses a magical attack on her very first night at campus. She sees a dragon, she sees a flying demon, and then from there she discovers that magic exists, and that there are these different societies, I feel like I'm going to be saying that word a lot throughout this video, that carry magic, and that Bree actually has a prophecy And yeah, I just really want to read this series. I watched people, you know, reading these books as they came out, and it looked like it was really emotionally driven, the stories, and I definitely want that emotional crush that I saw people have, because I want that. I want that. Next is two books by one author. I've only actually physically got one of them. So Ace of Spades by Farida Abiki Umedi, and also When Sleeping Girls Lie, I think is what the other book's called. So in this one, we are set in a private academy, and we follow, I think there's only 2 black students within the academy, and there's an anonymous texter who like shares people's secrets, and both these black students get the text saying your secrets are going to be revealed. So I believe they kind of have to team up to try and find out who this person is and like take them down before their lives can be ruined. And I don't know, that just sounds really fun, and also fun for me as a reader, not fun for them, of course. And then When Sleeping Girls Lies, so this follows a student who is new to her boarding school, and she was homeschooled up until now, and she's joined this boarding school in her 3rd year. It's a prestigious academy, and when her roommate disappears, she finds herself thrown into this crazy situation that again she never would have anticipated, and she ends up like revealing secrets along the way and just putting herself in danger, when all she really wanted to do was to go there and learn. This is a coming of age mystery, so I just think that it will be perfection. Next is a book that I think has a little bit of a different take to the dark academia vibe, and possibly some people wouldn't label it as such, but The Book Eaters by Sung Yi Dean. This follows a few families of people. They're like a wealthy group of people who live in the UK, and they're very secretive, and they literally devour knowledge, as in they eat books to consume the knowledge. And I don't think anything's more dark academia than that, personally. And we follow Devon, who was a princess of one of the families, and she actually fled in order to keep her sons safe, because in their kind of hierarchy or their setup, the daughters are married off, have children, and then they're to go back to their family home and leave the children with the new family, and that's how they kind of keep this going. It's all quite incestual as well at some point. But she flees with her son and brings him up in secret because he was born a mind eater. So as opposed to eating books like the rest of them do, he needs to consume brains in order to nourish himself. And those kind of children, they're killed off at birth, but she's not going to lose her son. So this has so many elements that really did it for me. The consuming of knowledge in a more literal way, and the element of a mother trying to keep her son safe just really hit me. This was just such a fast-paced book. I really enjoyed it. Next is A Whisper in Dark by Kelly Andrew. This is a book I haven't read, but I'm very excited to get to it. So in this, our main protagonist is deaf, and our author is actually hard of hearing or possibly deaf herself. So this is very much a kind of own voices style book. And we follow our main character, Delaney, who is able to talk to the dead, and she goes to a prestigious boarding school, and at this university they are training people, or the students, to be able to slip between the dimensions. And when someone turns up dead, Delaney finds herself caught up within it, and I just think this is going to be really good. I really do. I have high hopes for this one, actually. And then finally, we're going to finish up with 2 translated works. One I've read, one I haven't. So the one I have read is Jawbone by Monica Ojedi. So this is very strange, I will admit. This follows 2 I think they're around 16-year-old students who are so close. They're basically like sisters. They are ride or die for each other. And one of them ends up dead in an abandoned cabin, and the other one has been kidnapped by their teacher. And it kind of jumps between timelines leading up to what they've done to push their teacher into this situation. And it's very dark. This is very much a horror. um it's queer, it's tense, and I think it's just so perfect for those people that want a story that's not quite so linear and you can like pick up the elements as you go along. And then I guess kind of in a similar vein on my TBR is Confessions by Kane Minato. And this follows a middle school teacher who whose daughter died, and at the beginning of class or in class she gives this speech. She has handed in a notice and she is given a speech to her students, and she explains that she knows that one of her students is the reason for her 4-year-old daughter's death. It's not the accident that everyone thought it was. And I think we see the same scene or the same like storyline from 4 students' POVs as we go through. And that sounds dark and scary, and I really want to read this. So again, this is very high on my list. This is more of a thriller than anything else. So there's some of the books that I recommend / on my TBR. And now we have an announcement. Starting on October 1st, I will be running a dark academia book club on Fable. This is called By the Candlelight, and it will be a 2-monthly book club. So if you are interested, I would love to have you over there. I'll put all of the links and the information in the description. We'll be starting in October, so our October and November read will be The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is a book I haven't read yet, and it is very much considered the crux of what we consider to be dark academia today, and and from what I understand, it holds up a very good light to the obsession with the aesthetics of dark academia and how it can take you down a dark path. I want to read this before I dive into some more dark academia books, because I think it'll be a fantastic yardstick for books going forward. And this list is definitely where we will be sourcing a lot of books for this book club. But if you would like to read The Secret History either for the first time or a reread with me, please come and join me over in Fable. We would love to have you. And it will be our October and November book, and we will do a poll in November to decide on our like festive period book as well. So yes, thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope at least one of these books is something that you might consider picking up. Let me know in the comments any that I have missed and I should have on my list, and I'll see you soon for another video. Bye friends.